Okay, we are live in a very special edition of AVA-LIVE. If a lot of you are hopefully joining us after watching the Test of Time premiere on the Neutral Zone Studios YouTube channel. So right now we have with us Sam Cockings, who is the visual effects supervisor. We have David Capps, who played First Officer Booth. Scott Morris, who was the ME6 chief medical officer. We've got Ed Oborowski, who is the executive producer and prop maker for the episode. And we have Luis Sanchez with us, who played Jalan, one of the main characters. And I think Jennifer is going to join us here in a minute as well. So we're going to just kind of go around and talk about the film and everybody's experience making this. I want to start with Ed because you've been working on this longer than anybody. You told me 4 years almost is how long you've been associated with it. So Ed, tell us about how this movie came about.
This movie came about, really, it's a script by Ray Tessie, of course, with the Neutral Zone. He came to me, well, early in 2019, asking me if I wanted to be the front man for a production for the Neutral Zone Studios. Because back then, I think the way he phrased it to me was he was not having as good of luck as he wanted with some of the films. And he thought maybe putting someone else up front, someone else being executive producer and helping to take the reins at the beginning would maybe change the luck on the films a little bit. And, that's why he was looking for fresh people to come in like you, Josh. I hadn't worked with you yet, not like we did a few months ago. And unfortunately, due to my gallbladder issues at the time, having get surgery, I wasn't able to make it down for the filming, but we worked on it. We had meetings. We worked on reworked the script a little bit, which he had written. He was going through prop collection, trying to figure out how to originally get it set up on crowdfunding for Kickstarter. We did start a campaign back in early 2020, and about 3 days after launch, the country closed down. So we had to go and pull everything out. But it was so many times getting on the phone, trying to figure out who we're gonna cast, where we're going to get some people, what can we get to be crew for this, where we're going to get people, when should we film, should we raise all the money ahead of time, should we start filming then raise money, all the weird questions. Where I was brand new to Kickstarter, never done it before, not like Sam over there who does a Kickstarter and it's like magic. It just raises money. And I know when Ray was coming back around after everything, we were trying to get back going again. He said he's wanted to work with Sam, and could I send him some of the information, that we had saved from the page, because we had started off. First time off, we started off pretty good. We raised about $1,700 in the first 2 days, which was pretty good going. Nice. But we had to go and refund, basically cancel and refund, because I didn't want to hold on to people's money for 2 or 3 years because we didn't know how long we were going to be around for. And Kickstarter doesn't let you pause a campaign for say a year or two like that. So we had to stop and tell everybody we're sorry, but we'll get back to you. But after I sent Ray the information, literally days later, Sam and him had worked it out and it was ready up and looking a hell of a lot better than the page we had up originally. So appreciate that, Sam. You've got a magic touch for this. But
what was that like? You guys were really gearing up to do this. You were excited about it, and then it shuts. You have to shut it down. I mean, that had to have been frustrating.
That was heartbreaking to say the least. I mean, never done this before, and at first, we went through all this work. I'm probably about 9 months of work trying to get this set up, even going through prop design, even trying to recreate, because no one had the 29th century badges, so I actually recreated those from scratch. I found some models.
Wow.
You've got one of mine, or is that one of the fan sets?
No, it's one of mine. I sourced them myself.
You sourced them yourself? Okay, I know. I just met the guys from fan sets this weekend at a convention, and now they're making those with magnetic badges. I'm like, where were you a couple of years ago when I needed someone to do this?
But you made those yourself.
I made those myself. I actually found a wood grain pattern and extracted it for the textured half of it, and they made them in 2 parts so they can click together, so I can print them separately and do the
That's
same thing.
amazing.
I was using
That's
a
amazing.
screen reference, and I figured out how they did it. I found some reference to it being a wood grain texture, and I just went out there and looked for sample wood grain chips. Took a couple of pictures out there at a hardware store, sampled them, and played with the 3D program. I'm nowhere near an expert. I'm an amateur, self-taught, but I figured out how to do it and made the props. I made the medical badges that the skip wore. I decided to use the motion picture emblem, extracted, and just made about half a dozen different designs. And Ray and I finally decided on the oval badge. And I think Scott was also in on the process also. Your lighting guy. He was
Yeah.
in with us on some of the creation of that too. And well, just like I said, it was a lot of work we went through, design process. Sam was doing some of the early tests. He was talking to Ray about some of the early temporal ship designs, and I was just loving the process going through. It was new to me because I always wanted to do films. I went to film school back in 86 to 88 and wasn't able to finish due to monetary considerations. And this was one of my dreams, actually get a film out there, be in charge, try to get my fingers into all aspects of it, besides just,
Well,
throwing
I
money at
have
it.
to say, I had to say that you did an amazing job because those badges all looked amazing, and despite okay, so you locked down, you come, but we did this. We came back, we shot it, we got it finished. That's got to be a big accomplishment for you.
It is. It feels great to see it come out finally. I mean, I've seen the rough cuts and some of the early special effects, but actually see everything done with the music, the lighting, the final visual effects, everything, just feeling like it's an actual episode of Star Trek. Feels like it fits right into the original series. It's got the feel, it's got the look, it's got the sound to it. I just couldn't be happier about it. It's 4 years later. I'm like, wow, it's here. I don't know what else to say, but
Well,
yes.
on behalf of everybody that had a part in this, thank you, Ed. We really are all grateful that you took the lead on making this a reality.
Yeah,
truly.
Thank you. I mean, I couldn't have done it without Ray. Ray also. I mean, he had so much experience in fan films, and he was a good guiding hand. And I mean, he still is. I just I'm just don't really know what to say. I'm not good on camera and talking myself. You've seen that when I was on film in the background. Like, okay, I'm on screen again?
But
okay.
you're good with the phaser though. As people find in the Avalon films, you know how to handle a phaser. So
yeah, it comes from being a firearms instructor on the side. So and years of training, but yeah, I've got a few skills here and there. I can lend a few things to the production just besides being a body when you need in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna take it next to Sam, and because it's like 1:30 in the morning where you're at, something like that.
Just a bit, but I caffeined up for this. 4 years waiting for this, so that's okay. It's okay.
So Sam, this was a pretty tall order of a film. I mean, now you do a lot of real immersive CG type films, but this is the first time, maybe you kind of went this level of sort of taking what you do and putting it into somebody else's project with immersive CG, digital set extensions, all that kind of stuff. What was your thought when you first saw this script?
So I was brought in pretty early, as far as I knew. There was a script, and there was 2019. Let's get it made. Let's go. Ray was very enthusiastic. He said to me, "This is, the film that will define the studio. You want to go that big." I remember reading the script, and it was good. I enjoyed it, and I messaged him saying, "Ray, do you know how much work this is going to be? Do you really understand what you've asked here? Last act, giant space fleet. Ray, are you sure about this? Do you want to cut? No, giant bridge. I mean, incredible. And I admire his confidence and his want to go bigger, because Neutral Zone is done classic TOS. This is not classic TOS. And certainly once it's all there on screen, it's like, this is big. And you know, I convinced him to go 29th century to kind of like link it into a bit of canon, let me use the time ship and do my own thing. But yeah, everything was fresh built, everything was fresh designed. And yeah, no one's ever had this much all together stuff in a film. So it was a lot. And motion backgrounds, all the L cars moving all the shots, which really adds a lot to it, which took a long time to do, but it's really cool.
Now I know it took me about a month to compile all of the stuff you sent me, and we were working on it until last night.
My films as well, don't worry.
I started the compositing process in December, and I was still working on it like at 1 a.m. last night. How long did it take you to create the digital sets and then to match, you know, like the motion track of the footage we shot and all of that?
Well, the irony is I've grown my team since we started in 2019. So that was one guy who built the exterior. We had a plan for the interior, but we didn't move on. And since I've done my own films, I've grown my own team. So I had a guy for interiors, and I was able to work with him rather quickly, design it, work with you and Ray and Vic, and get it. But I've got quite a good, clear vision of these things. So put it together didn't take too long. There wasn't a huge rush at the time, so if we pushed a bit quicker. The motion tracking was that was a challenge. So motion tracking is those shots where you want a tripod shot. Instead, the shot's doing this. And when you're on green, you can't connect to anything. And so you've got to guess everything, kind of. It's a real thing. And there's loads of those shots. And I gave some of them to Joshua as like a pre-thing. Because I had to make the shots work, I had to do the work. And you had to finish it. And some you could do them. One shot...
It was like that team thing we did.
Yeah, and that one shot where the lovely Quinn walks through a damn shuttle. I had to stare at your body walking through that shuttle so many hours to try and match it, and that was like a 10, 15 hour shot just to make it work. But it's very cool. Like that's I wouldn't want to do it, but it's done and it's great.
So it didn't end up being a 29th century ship, it was a 28th century ship.
Well, I pitched like very end of the 28th, like 2892, right there, just so we could keep some of the iconography, but also do our own thing. That was kind of the logic. So it's mostly, and the design of the fighter is mostly the one from Voyager, but it's been rudimentary-ized a lot. And also we wanted Quinn to have a sleeping area, because in the original one, it's just this chair. And we're like, I
didn't realize it would be so big, because we're going in there to shoot this, and I'm like, so am I trying to replicate this Ed Bagley Jr. shot from Voyager, and it ended up it was like this big shuttle,
And originally there was, I think there was a scene in the back bedroom bit, so I actually built a rudimentary back with a window and everything, so we could have had an entire ship. It's not that big, but it's cool enough. It was fun.
Okay.
Nice.
So Jennifer, let's see. How did you get the role of Quinn, and how did that whole process go for you?
Well, it's really funny because Ray reached out to me via email and found me on some talent website.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know him. I never even knew about the Neutral Zone until I met Ray Tessie. So he reached out to me and I was 100% interested. And it was funny because he said, well, I think you know Lewis. And I said, oh, yeah, I've done some work with Lewis as a zombie. So, yeah, we kind of know each other. So I thought it would be a good time doing something I didn't know a lot about. And it turned out to be a fantastic experience. So.
Did you know anything about Star Trek before you did this?
Really? You have to ask me that question.
Well, don't be embarrassed if you're not the first actress to never know anything about Star Trek and be in Star Trek. So, but was it something you'd ever seen, or was this your first exposure to it?
Not my first exposure. I do know what Star Trek is. I've seen them. I've heard of them, but I haven't been an avid watcher of them. But being on the set and walking around and seeing how invested this whole crew and actors, how they were so invested in this, just opened my eyes. And it was very entertaining to say the least. And I just loved hearing stories from everybody. Everybody had wonderful things to say about the Star Trek community, and shows and representations. And so I feel like I learned a lot when it comes to Star Trek. So I'm sorry that I was not a big fan before, but it keeps pulling me in. So
What was the experience like of immersing yourself in a Star Trek character? Did you have to research the universe? Did you go try and watch some Star Trek? Like, what was the experience like for you?
So really, I just took points from everybody around me, to be honest. I talked to Ray a couple times and asked him if he would give me more details of the characters and just, a synopsis of every story, because I read it forward and backward and backward and forward. And my brain was having a hard time computing some things, but Ray was easy to talk through a lot of the scenes and scenarios with me. So I didn't do a lot of studying, probably like I should. But I got a lot of experience and a lot of education from everybody on set, which was extremely helpful.
Well, somebody I suspect is a Star Trek fan would be Dave Katz. You played First Officer Booth, but you've also been in a few other Neutral Zone productions. David, how did you get involved with Neutral Zone Studios and with this production?
I started, as a guest, just coming to see it. I don't even remember how I found out about it, but when I, went to Neutral Zone Studios, it blew my mind. It was just, to walk around on the sets of the Enterprise was just like a dream come true. And I started going more and more often and got to know Ray a little bit. And at some point he said, "You interested in being one of these things?" I played a Captain April in another one. And I said, "Sure, absolutely." And so I was available for this, and the rest is history. I mean, it was a long. What were we there, about 5 days? And I know it was
4 or 5 days.
4 or 5 days. About this time of year, it was starting to heat up pretty good, but it was a lot of fun. I mean,
It was,
the other
yeah.
neat thing about being in the show is you're standing there in a uniform on the set of the Enterprise for a week. I mean, it was wow.
And so, but were you a big Star Trek fan going into working with Neutral Zone and
Oh,
being
absolutely. I've been a fan probably since the early 70s. When the animated came out, I was probably 10 or 12 years old.
That's how I got started too. Was the animated series?
Yeah, but I think, but I remember the repeats before that. My dad used to watch that on Saturday afternoons when I was a kid. And my best friend growing up was a huge Star Trek fan. He bought everything, kept it in the package. You couldn't touch it, that kind of stuff.
So I want to talk to somebody who just, with this film, absolutely brought the house down, and that's Lewis. Lewis, oh my gosh, your performance in this is just unbelievably cool. I think, this was the third film that you shot at Neutral Zone, I want to say, but the second one released. Gosh, what did you think about this story and this script when you first read it?
I thought there were a lot of elements of things that I could relate to historically, like, not me personally, but like, some of the things that I know people like myself have gone through historically. So like I related to what Jalan was saying within the script when it came time for those parts, or like, slavery, or people being in captivity and stuff like that. Like I thought it was deep. I was like, oh man, this is something when I first read the script,
So it was personal for you in a way.
In a sense. I mean, I'm real. I don't know how well you know me personally. I'm very in tune with my like indigenous side and my history, people's history. My father's Puerto Rican. My mom's she's a native mixed and American. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I related to it.
You've got quite a heritage. A lot of
Right.
really interesting and distinct bloodlines there. you put so much passion into this. Where did you go to find that when you brought that out in the film?
Well, I mean, it was just like I said, just I'm so in tune historically. I mean, I think, you know what, this was right around the time I was doing a project where I was looking at the history of like music from the Caribbean, and how it is a mixture of, like, you know, slaves and indigenous peoples that were colonized. So I was already in that kind of mindset to think of, like I said, people in captivity and people whose history have been wiped away from them, kind of thing. Like, so I just took that and I kind of channeled that into the character's performance, you know.
So you got on in 3 different years now at Neutral Zone Studios for various projects. You're in 3 episodes of Tales from the Neutral Zone, playing 3 different characters.
Right.
And you're going to be in an Avalon film. What is this experience involved with Neutral Zone? What has that been like for?
You're breaking up a little bit, but I think I got what you're asking. So all 3, I think you were there for all 3 productions actually, but Avalon, we spent the most time on the set. So for Test of Time, we were on green screen a lot, you know what I mean? So, and that's when Sam, you know, his magic comes in. But
did we lose? I think, oh, maybe they're losing. I don't know.
We're losing you, Josh.
Oh, I'm good. My signal's good.
You're good. You're good here, Luis. I see everybody.
All right. So
Josh is frozen.
Okay, keep going. Keep going, Luis.
Okay. So yeah. So we were on green screen a lot for Test of Time, but for Doomsday, we were on the set, which was you know, that was my first time being on set, and it was breathtaking. I mean, I was like a child again. I'm sure the same experience that everyone else has when they first walk into that set, and how amazed you are and enamored you are with it. I felt all of that stuff, and that was with Doomsday. But the last production was the Avalon production we did, and it was real big. It was bigger than anything else we had done. I mean, lots of people, lots of extras, you know, a lot of moving parts going on at the same time. And, you know, you always handle everything like a champ. And so I enjoy working with you guys.
Okay, so now I want to get to my friend who became my friend on this shoot, Skip. And I didn't know you before we shot this film together, and then we became great friends. And a lot of that started with the after parties every night, where if nobody knows how a Neutral Zone Studios goes, every night after you go and you do a film shoot, we're all hanging out at the hotel. We go out, and there's this like one table by the pool, and we all go hang out and tell stories and chill. And that's where I really met Skip. Skip, how did you become involved with this production?
Well, I got to be friends with Ray at the very first fan weekend after Ray bought the studio. And I came to the first one, then they had the next one a few months later. I came to that one. I met a lot of people, but became real good friends with Ray. And then started coming out several times a year. I'm good friends with Vic back home. We don't live too far from each other, so we would hang out a lot. I'd come out here, and I'd try to come out, you know, several of the weekends a year, maybe 4 or 5. And I've done acting since I was in middle school. Always loved it. Star Trek's my other passion, and all this filming was going on, and I wanted to be a part of it. And so I kept telling Ray, hey, you know, hook me up, man. And this thing came up, and I was actually scheduled to play the future admiral. But another guy got sick who was supposed to play my part. And Ray said, hey, you want a bigger part? I said, absolutely, I do. And so like last minute, I don't know, a few days before time to leave to come down here, and I had to learn a new part. But but that's how I got involved with it. I'm friends with Ray. In fact, I'm here in Kingsland now. We just finished the last fan weekend of the season till September. And let me, on a side note, Sam, your dad was a treat with us here a few months ago. We had a lot of fun with him, and he seemed to have a good time.
Yeah, he came
So-
down and filmed with us for Avalon, and he was a ton of fun. Skip, it seems like you're kind of addicted to hanging out down there at Neutral Zone Studios, because it was something
Skip,
like
where you at, man? I'm here in Kingsland. Shoot, we can go ahead.
I'm at the Best Western.
Oh,
Where
that's
are
around
you?
the corner. I'm in the lake.
Hey, we're heading out to the pool in a little while, to the table.
All right, well,
At the
let's
Best
go.
Western,
I
at
can
the
be there in
hotel? You know
45
what?
minutes.
I'll
Let's
come
go.
by.
We have booze we have to finish that can't go on the plane.
Oh yeah,
always
I'll
have
come by
booze
the Best
to finish.
Western.
Okay.
This
So
is-
yeah, I'm kind of addicted. This is my happy place.
like your
I
fifth time-
just
it's
love
like your
coming
fifth
here.
time this year or something like that, isn't it?
What's that?
It's like your fifth time being down there this year or something.
This year, yes. Yeah, I went into quite a bit of debt doing the 4 whatever visits January and February, and I didn't think I was going to come back until autumn, and I was like, man, I already owe this much on the credit card. One more trip.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, now I got
Holy
the summer to
moly.
pay it off.
Wait,
Well,
Josh,
and-
can I just want to shout out the future admiral that he was talking about.
Richie.
Is that Richie, right?
He did
Yeah.
a great job.
Yeah, he did a good job. Shout out to Richie there.
And can I
He
just
was-
say, everyone did great. You should all come back to another film. That's what I think.
Well,
Nice.
luckily we since then we've done 2 more. So,
But as the same characters, a sequel, Test of Time 2. More tests, more time.
We probably need
Yeah.
to do something like that.
Well, you did set
I-
it up that way at the end with Jalon and Quinn, riding off into the sunset, so to speak. That was a good way to end that. So you
Yeah.
set it up for more episodes with those two.
And I can go poison another planet.
Yeah, well, getting back to Richie, we did talk about Richie, and he's in the live stream, or he did join us for the premiere. I thought he was solid. He was just a solid, tough as nails Starfleet admiral. He didn't have to work too hard at it. He just showed up and had a great time, and it was good to have him. And then Skip, here's the thing. I see Skip in this film, and I watched his performance, and I had to have him in 2 other films. You know what I mean? So he came and he was in Avalon, and he was in the Tale from the Neutral Zone that we shot a couple of weeks ago, and he played a Romulan. So it's interesting. He's kind of pulling a Lewis. He's in every film, but he's playing a different character.
Different character, yeah.
So, Sam, what was the most interesting part of this for you? What was the most interesting part of this challenge?
The scope. I mean, it dwarfs several of Ray's films in one go, but that allowed for the breadth. And because I built the Indigo campaign, and I was keen to sort of almost the tagline be, this isn't a TOS film, because that's a lot of people do them. It is actually a 28th century film that happens to be in the TOS era. Like, Quinn's genuinely the lead, right? That's the through line. So that becomes really, really compelling. And as someone who very much enjoys the 20th century stuff, it's 10 years older this year. So I love that stuff. It's really nice to be able to do temporal stuff that really added something, because I like doing, for the first time, and this was definitely that sort of vibe. So new, different, and future.
And it was interesting that it did get tied into a TOS vibe, because, we really did sort of tell it in a TOS style. We were going to have music composed, and Vic edited TOS music into it. And we were all like, this works. Why don't we just
This
go with
works,
this?
right? It sounded great.
It just sounded great. So we just kind of went with it. And then when we did the credits, I did the season 1 theme, because I like the season 1 credits theme. That's season 1 of TOS is my personal favorite. So that's what I went with there. So yeah, Ed, what was your favorite aspect of this film? What was the most interesting part of the process for you?
Well, hard to pick one aspect by itself to find it a favorite. I mean, I enjoyed every minute of it from beginning to end. Like I said, once again, the sound quality, the visual effects, Sam, that fleet at the end there. I have to see some more close-ups of that, of that too. I'm a SIP person, so sorry about that, folks. Yeah. God, I've got to mute the phone ahead of time, but one thing I didn't say before, but one for those that may not know that are watching right now, this film, we had the idea of the pandemic with the disease long before we ever had a pandemic in our country or in our world that came out. And that was one of the things I was worried about when we went back to production. If people thought we were just going to be like a knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, look, this just happened in the world. Let's make a movie about
COVID-29 or whatever it was, right?
Yeah,
I think we just modified a little bit of the script here and there. We even had a long discussion about whether we were going to change it completely or try to find some other words to use instead of pandemic or COVID or anything else.
I'm glad they didn't. A good story is a good story anytime.
Yeah, it is. I just was worried about people thinking, oh, it's just a reaction to what happened. Someone, they're getting cheesy with it. And we weren't going cheesy, but I mean.
So, hey, look, in the credits we've got, or in the chat, just quick shout out, Jason Spriggs.
Yeah.
Go on, Ed. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
1, 2, 3, pull. Jason,
your actions, Doctor.
Yeah.
There couldn't.
Why don't we just build an embassy? An embassy down there.
Prime directive.
Greatness.
I mean,
Anyway,
go
on, Ed. I'm so sorry.
It's perfectly fine. I looked at everything. I saw Jason's performance. I saw Quinn's performance. I saw Skip's performance. Luis, David. I mean, everybody. I'm looking like everybody is nailing this. You wouldn't think this is a fan film. A lot of people, when I started getting involved with them, thought fan films. Oh, whose basement are you going to be filming in? I mean, seriously. My brother-in-law who works. He does some CG effects. He does animated effects for things, and he never wanted to get involved. When I went down originally I was on STC, Star Trek Continues, and he had just lost his job. And I said, look, I'm going down to film. Come with me. You'll meet some people. Maybe you get you networked in. He didn't want to go because he thought I was traveling to somewhere, literally to someone's garage where we had set up a set. Not that it's a bad thing. Some of my friends like, Gary are watching, or Phil Farrick Productions, you got some great sets in your garage and your basements too, besides using our sets down there. But it's a religious experience going down and filming on those sets. Every time I walk in, I'm 10 years old again, 8 years old, and I see it on everybody's face.
I think there's anybody here that doesn't feel that way when we go there.
Yeah.
And that's
when we do the tours, we all gather at the bridge, no matter if I'm doing a tour or whoever, but we get in front of the people when we bring them around the corner to the bridge, because we all want to see their jaws drop when they walk in after the end of the tour, and then they see the bridge and you see tears coming down people's faces. It's amazing. That's just an amazing place.
And there are so many people that are working like Terry Stafford here in our comments.
I see
who work really hard to keep this dream alive.
Yeah. Even down to playing a dead body 25 times in a.
Hey, let me say something. Ray Tessie, he's driving home right now. They're on the road going home. He's not here. So I don't know if he's able to listen in or not, but I think everybody here couldn't say enough about Ray Tessie and what he's done by keeping us alive. And gives so much of himself to. I mean, the studio takes donations, but you know what? All that money ultimately comes out of Ray's pocket to keep that place running. And he's such a huge fan and such a wonderful guy. And man, I love him. He's like a big brother to me. And he's done a lot. Without him, we couldn't do any of this.
Yeah, true. Very true.
I want one thing that I want to say about that is that, I don't know how he does it, because it seems like it's more than one person can really handle what he handles. And you can tell that it's not easy because he's always got so much on his plate. And I genuinely worry about him a lot because it's like he's some days is trying to keep the dream alive single-handedly. In some ways he's taken on this huge mantle of keeping this studio alive and keeping this dream alive for all of us who want to come play in this. And the only thing I can say is just to plead to the fan film community or to Star Trek fans, go to the Neutral Zone Studios Patreon, help us out with this, help Ray keep this dream alive, because he's giving so much himself to do that. And no one person can do it alone. He's been fortunate in that there are a lot of wonderful people that are here right now that are helping him with that dream. But we really need so much more from the community to be able to keep this going. David, what was your favorite aspect of this production? What did you enjoy the most about 4 days that you were on set?
Well, in addition to being in the uniform and being in the sets, it's interesting just to see how these things are made. And, because some of you guys do this professionally, and it, sometimes when I was watching these scenes, I think about, wow, we spent hours filming that from 100 different angles, and that's what y'all came up with. But it was fun. It was fun doing these scenes over and over again. Vic was a lot of fun to work with. So it was just kind of learning, being on the other side of the camera and seeing what it's like to be involved in one of these. It's much more complex than we sometimes realize.
I feel like that it was interesting to watch Vic direct, because he was very kind. He was very energetic. He was extremely polite. For a guy who makes you do like 100 takes. And that's why that Jason Spriggs line stands out to me, that your actions, doctor. Like, he did it 30 times. But Vic was so nice about it. He was just like, okay, let's try and do it again like this.
He almost made it sound like it was his fault for doing it again.
Let's do one more. Let's do one more.
Just one more time.
One more time.
Just one more.
Think about your motivation here.
Right. When I was watching, we had a moment when I recovered in the med bay or whatever, and I remember when I'm talking to Quinn, but your prime directive wouldn't let you. I remember we did that, a lot of takes on that. So I was curious to find out which one he went with. And when he came, it was like, all right, that's okay. All right.
One of the things I really enjoyed, Lewis, I assume you're a stage guy too, Lewis, and I know Jennifer is. And coming from a stage background, and I've always enjoyed the behind the scenes and the crew workings of a stage, but then to see the workings of a film, I was really curious to see that and experience that and to see that difference. A lot of the things stay the same, a lot of the same jobs get done, but a film set's totally different, and that was amazing just to learn some of that stuff and see these people who are so great at what they do working, from the camera on down to the guy that hooks up the lights, Scott. That was a lot of fun.
I learned something fun because
climbing on ladders.
Oh my gosh, you talk about stage acting, and you've got to be the loudest person on the stage. So we're in the green screen that second day, and my voice is like so high, and I'm talking
You're
so
like yelling,
loud.
like, no,
I'm yelling, and Vic's like, you can take it down. And I was like, I'm so sorry.
No, when you Skip, when you said that, that's the first thing.
Stage to film.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Lewis.
When you said that, Skip, coming from stage or theater to film, that's the first thing I thought. It was like, yeah, the first adjustment I had to make was controlling the volume. Mm-hmm. I remember I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jill Donnellan down in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. I took a class with her, and she loved me to death. But one of her notes she used to always say is like, why the F are you yelling at us, all the time? And it's like, sorry, Jill, I'm in the middle of a stage production right now. It's, I got to go back and forth, adjust.
Yeah, because you can't be subtle on stage.
Right. No, everything has to be exaggerated. Everything has to be louder, projected, everything.
It's really common when you make the transition from stage to film to struggle with that, because you're so used to that and you don't realize that the camera's right up on you, the microphone is right there, and so sometimes you might blow the whole situation out if you're too loud. Let's see.
Well, who's the sound? The boom. Not the boom sound. Not Alan.
Alan.
So we had
Dan.
Alan
Dan.
and Dan. Yeah,
Dan.
And
Dan
Dan.
Hanlon.
Yeah. So many
Yeah.
times Dan had to be like, Lewis, you're blowing me out over here, man. Come on.
Yeah. Or Dan.
Dan was great. He'll get that microphone in there where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And mic placement is the most important aspect in sound. So it's like, yeah, these guys doing their job. Here's the thing. You only notice something in film, like you only notice detail like that if it's a screw up. Like you only notice sound if it's a screw up. You only notice lighting if it's a screw up. So it's like guys like Scott and Dan and Alan doing their jobs well played such a huge part in this turning out how well it did. And then of course that sound went to Ralph Miller, who also worked on Star Trek Continues, and he did the sound design and the sound mixing, and that was good stuff. Lewis, for you, what was the most fun aspect working on this particular film?
You know what? It was immediately just connecting with the rest of the people on set, even though so everyone didn't know what was happening, right? They just know I looked rough and all that. It's like, oh, I remember somebody even referring to me as the scary guy. You know what I mean? But outside of filming, we all clicked. It was great. I even remember us going out and grabbing some dinner or something. It was great. Meeting the wonderful people is my answer. That's my favorite part of these productions.
Yes, it is always mine too. Just like you said earlier, the hanging out and eating, at going to the restaurant, going to the picnic table, depending on the hotel, or out by the pool. It's just the camaraderie you develop. It's another family.
And I appreciate he's kind of letting everyone else have their moment right now, but Vic had such a huge part in this, and I just want to say this is what I want to say about Vic, because I had really making this film is the chance where I really got to know him. And say what you will about him, he is a brilliant filmmaker. I mean, he may make you do more takes. He does that on purpose because he knows you can do better. And he brings the best out in people. He brings the best out in actors. And he is a brilliant director and a brilliant filmmaker. And I thought that he did a fantastic job taking this script and making it into a film. He edited the film. I didn't edit this. He did it. You know,
no, it looks great. Oh man, I saw that. I saw on the credits. I was like, oh wow, Vic, sheesh.
We did what's called an offline online process where I sent him proxy files and he edited the proxy files, and then he sent like an edit decision list back to me, and then I did the online, brought it up to full resolution and inserted VFX and stuff like that. But pacing, character moments, choice of takes, all of that with him. So, and he did a fantastic job. I mean, we give him a hard time about doing a bunch of takes, but
it's all about the end product, man. All about the end product.
You can't argue. Yeah, you can't argue with results. So,
right.
Skip.
Better too much than too little.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Skip, what was most fun aspect of this for you?
Well, the immediate first thing is that it was the first of the fan films that I got to act in. I took part in the crew of one, but this was the first one I got to play a part. And that, acting has been my passion. And Star Trek is my passion, so immediately it was that, and then it's the people. I had met Jennifer when she had come to one of the fan weekends after I guess Ray cast her, and we met and just chatted for a few minutes. It's like, oh, okay, this is going to be fun, and I remember you were doing a costume test there on the bridge, and then the rest of the people, Ed I had known, and then it was great working with him. Ed's a great guy.
Thank you.
And then everybody else, Lewis, David, all the rest of the guys, just meeting, just the connections that you make. That's what lasts. I mean, the end product is going to last, obviously, but the connections that you make, I mean, these are friends I think I'll have for life. And then watching them work, David, I got to say, your expressions during that scene in the transporter room, man. Every time I was over at Vic's house watching him edit, he and I would just crack up at you.
I love that, Dave. I love that.
Yeah.
That look that you gave him when he told you
Yes,
to
that
go
was
ahead.
great.
Oh man.
But the connections that you make are just and then what you learn too. It was just, there was just, I mean, I could go on, but it was just an amazing experience, and the first of what I hope turns into many.
Jen, talk about why this experience was so unique for you and what you loved the most about the whole thing.
Well, I mean, the first time that I walked into the neutral zone, I was overwhelmed because there was so much going on. There were people, there were people giving tours. There were people outside in costumes, people just standing around talking. And I walked in and Ray just said, have a look around and just have a look around. And I was like, okay, great. And I thought, man, half of these people here are just having the time of their lives, getting a tour and seeing the Enterprise, the whole thing, like all these kids in a candy shop having the time of their lives. And I thought, this is going to be the best experience I've ever had. And it turned out to be an amazing experience. I mean, I already knew Lewis and I knew a little bit of Ray, but I got to meet all these guys and gals, and Skip has been a good friend and I love talking to Skip. I love Booth's face in that one scene when I asked him to leave and he's like, oh, who, me? I gotta go. I mean, cracks me up every time. I cannot.
Yeah, that was great, Dave.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, but the experience and the overall simplicity of this whole entire set is beyond belief. I mean, people that haven't been to the neutral zone need to get out and go and experience it. It's amazing. I met a lot of people. I learned a lot of things. I felt like I walked away knowing a lot more people and so much more about Star Trek than I ever knew. And I really had the time of my life in 4 to 5 days being on that set with all these people.
Okay, so we've reached the end of this amazing journey. We've put this film out. What do you guys, just in summary, who wants to kind of offer some thoughts about, now that you're on the other side of it, what do you think?
Well, if I may, man, you know what? That was awesome. That it was amazing. I sat there and I watched. I was hanging on to everything of the story. It came together just the way I saw it as I read the script. I think you guys did. We all did such a great job on it. I was very. Now I'm not pleased. That's not enough of a good word. Please, it's more than that. Impressed, proud, all of that.
Proud's a good one.
It was great. I loved it. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, kudos to you guys. The lights, the sets, the sound, the design, all the stuff that goes into this besides the actors, amazing. Everything was amazing.
I'd like to say something about Josh too. Vic was great at directing, but I loved watching the back and forth collaboration between him and Josh, which made me want to work with Josh. And I remember telling him, I want to work with you. And he says, well, I have a whole different, what did you call it? A tornado directing style or something? I don't remember what you told me, but I'm like, I want to experience
nothing
that.
Like it's now that you've been through both experience.
But it made me want to work
different.
with Josh a lot more. But it was so cool watching these two professionals that know the hell what they're doing, bouncing ideas back and forth off each other, whether it was lighting, lenses, or who knows what. But it was so fascinating, and I really enjoyed watching that. And they both did just such a job.
Mm-hmm.
They did a great job. Yeah.
Sam, what do you now? For you were on the ground level along with Ed on the other side of it. What did you think when you finally got to see it?
And I actually avoided seeing the middle scenes until it was done. So I actually watched it. I've seen my stuff verbatim, but it feels like a film that is more than the sum of its parts, because each part we saw all individually, but you put all together and it's extremely cohesive. It's got a strong message. Performances are fantastic, and it's got a vibe that is pretty rare in the fan film world. Joshua shoots damn well, so it looks great, and Vic directs well, so it's well shot and edited. I mean, it's a really is a team effort that is one of those sort of zeitgeists of a film that it just kind of came together, I think.
And thank you, Sam. Thanks again. You the man, because those effects, man.
Yep.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I mean, it's your piloting that avoided the beam. I mean, I just pointed it. I mean, good pilot. Close though. She almost got you.
Yeah.
Right.
Ed,
Yeah.
ground level. Now you're on the other side of it. Are you happy with how the film turned out?
I'm more than happy with it. I can't say how happy I was just watching it, even having read the script 100 times over and saw the rough cuts and everything, just watching it all come out again, because everything, the lighting, the sound, everything is a character in Star Trek. A lot of people don't realize that. If you don't, you can have any film, but if it doesn't have that look, the sound, the editing style done right, it's never going to get out the other end. And we do rely on visual effects for the characters too. I saw a recent article that said, "Oh, they should get rid of ships in Star Trek and just have it based on a planet." And I mean, you can't have it.
That's Stargate.
That's Stargate. Yeah, thank you. It's Stargate. And that's a different
Good
film.
point.
That's a different series, But I mean, I love
Yeah.
Stargate too, and I got to talk to you about your Stargate fan films. But that's another conversation, not here. But it's done now. I'm so happy with seeing something that I was involved with so long come out and look and feel just the way Trek should feel. I'm happy. I mean, I'm not a really big emotional person going crazy, but I'm really happy about where everything turned out. Everybody's performance. I thought David there in the transporter room was gonna gonna push the captain aside. Yo, let me handle this, Captain.
Oh God.
I'll take care of her for you. But,
David, for you, seeing it on the other side, what do you think?
It's just a blast. I mean, part of the time it feels like a job, and part of the time it feels like you're actually, kind of immersed in the characters, and you're actually part of the Star Trek universe. I don't know. I mean, like I said, so many of those things we did a million times, and it's kind of interesting to find out how it comes out. But in my memory, all the takes were about the same, but I'm sure they were different to him. And I know I did always feel like Vic was trying to get the best out of us that he could. And he took the time, and like you said, he was very good about it. Nobody was ever bothered. It was almost like when he would say, "Let's do it one more time." You're like, "Yeah, let's do it one more time. This is fun."
Very cool. And you got to watch this performance of yours. You got to watch this film as a whole. What did you think?
It's a great show. I mean, it's very complex. It's very, it's beautifully produced. The whole thing. It just comes together as a beautiful picture. The special effects bring it all together. The music, the sound. I mean, everything. It's a beautiful production. It doesn't look, in my humble opinion, it doesn't look amateurish at all.
Not at all.
I have these things are just playing on YouTube behind me on the TV screen here, and you see them, and sometimes you kind of wince at some of the stuff you see on the screen, but ours, it just seemed like it was just beautiful. I mean, there's no I hope I hope a lot of people watch it.
Yeah.
Skip, you've been in some films. Now you're in a finished one. What do you think of that? Now that you've
I think it's great. I think it's great. I can't wait to send a message to my dad and have him watch. And all my family and friends. I just want to look what we made. And okay, quite honestly, at the first, I just wanted to be in one. I wanted to get in one. I didn't care if it was crap, but then to actually have and gotten in just a quality script and a good, if you're going to do it, do a good one, right? And it's a great story. It's well acted. It's great direction. The special effects are just awesome. The music's awesome. It's just a whole quality product. and I just couldn't be happier to be able to look back and tell people I know, look what we did.
Jennifer, what are your thoughts on the other side of the journey?
Well, I'm one of those people that I don't like seeing myself, but I like seeing everybody else. I really enjoyed watching that production. I mean, the special effects, the sound, the music, the lighting. I'm beyond impressed by all the hard work that went into this film. 100%. Like, hands down, I praise all of you guys. The acting was fun. The people were fun. I'm speechless. It's that good. I think it's that good. I'm speechless. But I'm very proud of this production, and I'm proud of all the people behind the scenes and in the scene. Great job, everybody.
Do you hope we'll see Quinn again in another fan film?
Well, I mean, I saved Jalon, so he better do something.
Okay, so we've been going about an hour. I want to thank everybody for joining us, for everyone here in our discussion, for being here. It was a wonderful, wonderful journey to make this film with all of you. For everyone, I put the link to neutralzonestudios.com in our group chat, and I'll put it in the comments of this video. Again, go to the website, check out what they're all about. Look for their Patreon, see if you can help them out in any way possible. But until then, I want to thank all of you for coming, and we'll catch you next time on AVA-LIVE.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks, everyone.
And thank you, Vic.
And thank you, Ray.
Yes.
Boom.